I'd like to call to order the Municipality of Monroeville's regular council meeting for September 11th, 2018. It is approximately 7:08 p.m. In a moment, I'm going to ask for us to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to follow that as we normally do with a moment of silence. If we could, please remember all of the people that we lost 17 years ago in the September 11th attacks.
17 years ago.
17 years ago.
Yes.
All of the first responders and those that we lost on this date. So with that, please rise for Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mayor Grieslock?
Here.
Mrs. Gatos?
Here.
Mr. Poach?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Johns?
Here.
Mr. Arasinko?
Here.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Little?
Here.
Mr. Ratcher?
Here.
Ms. Rock? Mr. Hugus?
Here.
Mr. Sedlak?
Here.
Mr. Weldon?
Here.
Yes, at Thursday's meeting, we had some lengthy discussion regarding our pollution control and flood reduction ordinance. Mr. Harvey had some comments he wanted to say before we got started with our meeting. Mr. Harvey?
Yes, just wanted to brief the residents, and I know council knows 90% of this, but I wanted to do a short rundown, if you would, on MS4. I think some of the residents that have called me and communicated with me thought it would be a good thing for most residents to know that it just didn't come up yesterday. The MS4 committee was formed by Deputy Mayor Arasinko, who appointed me as the chairman of the committee at the beginning of the year after his swearing in. I picked Mr. Little, Bob Ratcher, Paul Hugus, Jamie Story, and Councilwoman Gatos to be on that committee with me. Prior to this committee, I personally had been investigating MS4 and hopefully lengthening my education on it for about one, maybe close to 2 years. I want to thank the folks at Mount Lebanon for putting up with me and all my questions and phone calls, and for also providing me with the ordinance, their PowerPoint, and all the related information. Since that time, the MS4 committee has been meeting since February and has continued to meet on all possible issues, and all the while keeping the residents and businesses in mind at the top of the list. MS4, although new to our community, is not a new subject. This is something meant for stormwater management that was dealt with incorrectly for many years when new developments, both residential and commercial, were built in Monroeville. It is mandated by the federal government and is under the control of the federal and state EPA. Just a brief history, I'm sorry. The stormwater requirements for the Federal Clean Water Act are determined under the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection Municipal Separate Stormwater Sewer System, MS4. In December of 2002, the DEP issued a general permit for the use by MS4 communities that fall under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, Phase 2, requiring the implementation of stormwater management programming for minimizing the impacts of runoff. Several extensions had occurred since the expiration of that 5-year permit, the last of which extended the permit expiration till June 11/13. Now remember, I'm giving you federal and state information. After much debate and extensive delays, the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection released a new permit requirements in late 2011, so all MS4s are working understand how they affect and prepare their applications before their due date. Under the MS4 program, permittees are required to incorporate the following 6 elements known as minimum control measures into their stormwater management programs. And they are public education and outreach, which I think we've been doing, public involvement and participation, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction of site runoff control, post-construction stormwater management in new developments and redevelopments, pollution prevention, and good housekeeping for the municipal operations and maintenance. Pennsylvania has close to 1,000 jurisdictions that are considered small municipal separate stormwater systems and therefore require Phase 2 permits. MS4's annual status reports will be due for many of the permittees, and I believe us, by September 30th. So, that being said, we investigated what was needed, and the engineering department applied for our permit. This permit is 26 pages long and describes what we have to do and the fines if we don't complete them. That being said, we had to make a budget. This included equipment, vehicles, staffing, billing, engineering, etc. We then had to review everyday projects like street sweeping and capital projects such as Logan's Ferry Road, that would be estimated at $200,000. Lower Old Ramsey Road estimated at $450,000. The Willow Hedge plan estimated at $170,000. Lower Rosecrest, which is estimated at $100,000. Mosside by Compunetics estimated at $200,000. Brookside Drive estimated at $350,000. Glendale Court at $200,000. 1249 Harvest Drive at $20,000. 1261 Harvest Drive at $20,000, 300 Garden City Drive at $350,000, Old William Penn at Beatty at $350,000, and those are just some of them. Then the fees charged had to be fair and across the board, both according to the state and the federal. We then had to calculate the fees. We decided to use the ERU system. There are several ways to do this. The engineering department calculated the average resident that had approximately 2,385 square feet of impervious surface, and this would equal 1 ERU. Now, take that into consideration that it is not a tax, but a fee, much like your water bill and your phone bill. 1 ERU to a resident would equal $10 per month or $120 a year. We then calculated the budget with all the expenses, as I explained before, equipment, manpower, fuel, supply, time, and attempted numerous times to keep the ERU as low as possible, yet still meet our requirements in completing the projects required by our permit. With all those facts into consideration, the ERU was set at $10 a month, and the residents and the businesses were calculated with the total surface with 1 ERU, again, equaling 2,385. Then the same as the residents, the businesses times 10 times 12 months. So they had to be calculated fairly, and everybody being charged essentially the same. We worked a long time and very hard to make sure that the ERU was fair. It allowed us to fulfill our obligations to our permit and correct long-time needed repairs and updates to our stormwater management around the municipality. While I'll agree in most cases the projects you will not see them because they'll be underground, and most times when you can't see something that you spend this kind of money on is a little disnerving to the people that are paying for it. I believe this program will improve our community and make it much safer and cleaner for our residents and visitors alike. We now have 4 years to complete the project of a 5-year permit. All of the maintenance and projects outlined by the engineering department are projects that I don't know if we would have ever got them done under the normal budget. I do want to take this time to acknowledge the engineering department, Paul Hugus and Jamie Story, for the large amount of extra time they put in to meet with the committee and bring us up to speed on what was needed. I thank you again. Mr. Mayor, with that, the committee has proposed some changes to the ordinance that will ultimately benefit the residents and businesses alike. And until that is reviewed and rewritten by Mr. Ratcher, I would like to make a motion to table the vote on the MS4 ordinance tonight.
I'll second.
So we have the This is on the agenda, and I'll move it around up to the top of the agenda. So we have a motion and a second to table. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The item
Mayor,
is-
if I can,
Yes, the item is tabled.
along with that, we also had proposed opening an account for the MS4. And due to the fact that we are tabling the ordinance, I'd like to go ahead and table the opening of the account until we pass the ordinance.
Okay, council, this is on motions. Motion number one, which is a motion to open a pollution control and flood reduction special reserve fund. We have a motion to table by Mrs. Gatos. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So to clarify, our first motion is tabled, and our first ordinance on our agenda is also tabled. Mr. Harvey, did you have any other comments for this evening? at this time?
No. I hope that better explained things in short, and that was the best I could do.
Very good. And we do appreciate, yours and Mrs. Gatos' time on this committee and our staff, as you mentioned. So we're going to move over to our public comment on proposed agenda items only. Yes, these two items have been tabled, but they are still on the agenda. So if anyone would like to speak about those items or any other municipal items that are on our agenda this evening, now would be your time. And we'll be maintaining our 5-minute comment period as we typically do. If you could just please state your name for the record, sign in if you
Georgiana Woodhall, and
you signed in, Georgiana.
I did.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I'm still confused as to whose responsibility the pipes are on the state roads of Monroeville. I know that in the past, it was stated that it was Monroeville's responsibility, so I just wanted to kind of get some answer here this evening.
Yeah, well, that's not on the agenda, but
Well, it's tied into the stormwater, obviously.
that's kind of a stretch. But do we have an answer on that, Mr. Little?
Well, we kind of briefly talked about it in an unrelated meeting, and there's ambiguity on that. There's no
Correct.
question about it. I don't have the answer, okay? I just don't have the answer on the 1947 law that it seems like PennDOT, well, I'm not going to make a comment on.
Okay, but
how
is the
PennDOT
money
handles
from
that.
this project that the fees, is that going to go towards the state roads?
It could. I mean, that's a legal question.
Could, yeah,
It's a
and
legal
maybe
question,
Mr. Ratcher
Georgiana.
can answer
A
that.
legal question on how you interpret that statute from 1947 and how PennDOT has applied it.
Because the other night when it was being discussed, catch basins going into Turtle Creek, that's not a municipal road. The other roads where you're listing catch basins, those aren't the responsibility of the municipality. So who's going to take care of those issues and those problems? If it's not going to be this fee.
Mr. Duncan?
Can I comment on this one
Absolutely.
second? It's just odd. For 30 years, I've worked for the municipality, and I've dealt with storm sewer systems. If it was a state road, and the inlets were on a state road, it was the state's responsibility.
The catch
pipe-
basins.
The pipe that goes under, because they dictate their roads, as far as if we just came in and dug it up, they want it put back to their specifications. That was their responsibility. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Until this Northern Pike venture, which still boggles my mind. I don't understand it. But if it was a county road, they're responsible for their catch basins and their pipes. A municipal road, that's ours. You name
how
it,
many
whichever.
how many
municipal.
catch
Now,
basins?
this is the way it's always been. Where this new,
Can I
I don't even know what to call it.
make a
cluster.
comment here, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Harvey, yes.
The only thing I wanted to say is chime in with Mr. Duncan and tell you that all the years as a police officer, that we had to do traffic control on these roads when they flooded out. If we were on a state road, PennDOT is who showed up to clear it. And if we were on a county road, the county is who showed up to clear it. And I'm talking about especially 130, if we had a flooding problem. A lot of times it was down past Pitcairn, you know, that hillside that was coming down. And if it was a state road, PennDOT took care of it. And
Well, has there been any, and I know that you stated that, you know, you had a meeting. Is there any effort put forth to get that law changed?
Not
I
not
know
that I'm
you-
aware of.
I don't know if it was mayor, when you were mayor.
I'm not
Mr. Ayers. No,
aware
I'm
that
talking
there
about-
is a law.
I'm talking about Mr.
No,
Arasinko.
and Steve's right, not that I'm aware of, there's a law on that.
Well,
What they said, and we have one of our officers back there, it's the same. When it's a county road or a county issue or a state road or state issue, they
But
fixed
was
it,
there any
cleaned it.
attempt
Sorry?
was there any attempt at the meeting that you had to get that changed when you
No,
met
the
with
meeting
Senator
had nothing to
Brewster?
do. The meeting was just was somewhat on an unrelated matter that we met with a developer, and we just happened to engage in conversation about it because you brought it up and it was an issue. But there's no resolution. The only inquiry that the municipality made 4.5 years ago was to Senator Brewster's office with respect to Northern Pike when we were doing that, and I mentioned that last Thursday
Right.
night. That's the only inquiry that we have ever done. That was back in April 2014 or somewhere around there.
Because I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind paying a fee if you're going to get something for that fee. But since I live on a state road, I'm not going to pay a fee. I mean, I've been paying fees to PennDOT through my driver's license, like everybody else, through registration. And
Well, we need to explore
I
this
don't
more,
know.
and I think what we can, definitely the inlets, all of the stormwater, you know, the systems that we have that are our responsibility, we're going to take care of. It sounds like we need to do some homework and
it
research
sounds like
on.
I'm going to be paying a fee, and you're not going to be responsible for any issues where I live or where my property is.
Wouldn't that be the same with the people that live on Haymaker, because that's a county road?
County road.
There'd be a lot of situations similar to this, yes.
Yeah.
So
I
all-
mean,
of all
I
the-
understand what you're saying.
Right.
But I think the beef needs to be taken to the state.
Oh, it's already been taken to the state, and it will
And
continue to be
that's
taken
their
to the state. But if
responsibility.
I'm paying a fee to the municipality, and, you know, the state law says that you're responsible for the pipes under the state roads,
Well, no, well,
You
that's
know,
the
between a
clarification.
rock
We need
and a
to- no,
hard
you're right.
place.
No, but if we are responsible for the pipes, the municipalities, then absolutely, yeah, they'd be tended to. But we have to clarify that.
okay?
So-
And when do you think that would be? Because I would have liked not to come up here this evening.
Well, we're tabling this ordinance, so it's not even passed. We're not voting on this ordinance, so we have to get to that point first.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
If anyone else would like to comment on proposed agenda items only. Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting. We're going to move over, council, to our minutes. We're going to be approving our minutes of Citizens Night of August 9th, 2018, council work session of August 9th, 2018, and our regular council meeting of August 14th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Coach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our approval of tax collections, or reports from the tax collections. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
That's funny.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. List of bills and budget transfers. Is there a motion to approve?
So, second,
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments, council?
No, sir.
And as always, all of these items were discussed at length at our Thursday council work session at our agenda-setting meeting. Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Aye.
Wilson?
The ayes have it. And payroll report.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments?
Nope.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko. Mr. Johns.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. Mrs. Gatos, do you have anything for this evening?
I do not, sir, thank you.
Mr. Poach?
Not at this time. That's Steve's point.
Oh,
Steve's, I know, Steve's.
Very good.
Steve's position.
Mr. Harvey?
nothing.
Mr. Johns?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Arasinko?
Still looking for a rec and park advisory. Hopefully, somebody from the Fifth Ward will please put your name in. We are short on that committee, if you will. Thank you, sir.
And also for Ward 1 as well for the rec department. For the,
Yes.
Recreation and Parks Advisory Board. Mr. Duncan?
Yes, not having anybody to fill the Sixth Ward, that we did have somebody that was interested, a Mr. Dennis McDaniel. And so I'm, happy to appoint him to he's in the Second Ward, to the Sixth Ward Library Board vacancy.
Second.
We have a motion to appoint Mr. McDaniel, or Dr. McDaniel, rather, and a second. Roll call, Sharon? Actually, we can just do all in favor.
Voice vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Duncan, do you have anything else this evening?
That's all I have.
Mr. Wilson?
No, thank you.
Moving over to our new business, number 1 Cochran Automotive, Mr. Little.
Okay, we have one applicant, Cochran Automotive. Applicant is requesting site plan approval to demolish an existing structure and construct a 5,964 square foot car wash and vehicle prep building and associated site amenities. The property address is 318 Old Haymaker Road and identified as parcel 855K101H in the M1 Planning Industrial Zoning District. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments or questions, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Johns.
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko.
Aye.
Mr. Duncan.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our motions. Once again, our first motion was tabled, which was a motion to open the Pollution Control and Flood Reduction Special Reserve Fund. So we're moving over to our second motion. Mr. Little.
Motion to approve a bronze sponsorship level in the amount of $100 to support the Gateway Gators Ice Hockey Club for the 2018-2019 season.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Duncan.
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko.
Aye.
Mr. Johns.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving over to our resolutions. First resolution is connected to the Cochran project.
Correct. It's a resolution approving a split-face concrete masonry unit as an approved exterior surface material as provided for in section 209.3 of ordinance 1443 as amendment for number 1 Cochran Automotive, 185 ST, located 318 Old Haymaker Road.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, council, or questions? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Johns.
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko.
Aye.
Mr. Duncan.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
The ayes have it. Our next resolution.
Good
Mr.
luck. Thank you.
sir. Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
A resolution under Act 205 of 1984, known as the Municipal Pension Plan Funding Standard Recovery Act, authorizing the 2019 MMO for the police and non-uniform pension plans.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions, council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Duncan.
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko.
Aye.
Mr. Johns.
Aye.
Mr. Harvey.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos.
Aye.
We had one ordinance this evening regarding the pollution control and flood reduction fee and ordinance and the rules and regulations of such ordinance, which has been tabled earlier in the meeting. So we're going to pass over that. Moving over to our reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, any comments this evening?
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Little.
Yeah, I have a couple items that are not on the agenda. Joe, you want to bring up the first?
What's first, Tim?
Whatever you want it to be, Joe.
You put it up, we'll talk about it.
You bring it up and you will
First
talk
one in the
about it,
queue.
about all the flooding that has occurred in the last...
I'll start with that video.
Okay, start with a video.
Is your backyard going to be in here, Judge?
I hope not.
So you go out there.
Popcorn?
Okay, as everybody knows, we've had a lot of rain. This is our trail, Westmoreland Heritage Trail, down just past the bridge. As this will pan to the left, and you can see that Malcolm Silas, who's head of the Park and Recreation Department in Westmoreland County, has advocated that nobody use the trail. There have been people using the trail, but that's the way the trail had looked this morning when that video was shot. Okay, Joe, you want to bring up the pictures of Abers Creek Road?
Okay.
Okay, that's a picture of the trail. It flooded out right down near Saunders Station. So the public and council can see what was occurring yesterday. Okay, this is Abers Creek Road, what has occurred with a slide. Now, what Paul Hugus has done is he's contacted the DEP. We're probably having to get an emergency permit to repair this, as probably a lot of other municipalities have streams are going to have to do the same thing. So this gives council and the public an idea of what's occurring on Abers Creek Road. Now, Abers Creek Road is closed because of the bridge repair. It's been closed for over a month now, but by PennDOT. That bridge is almost complete. However, we do have this problem now because of the slide. Okay? And that's looking up from Abers Creek, looking into up towards Turnpike Gardens there. And that is a divot right there where we don't know whether or not that's a slide crease. I don't know if that's a correct term, but looks a little bit ominous.
Yeah, the state allowed them to.
Okay, this is Mosside Boulevard. Everybody, a lot of people probably know, if you subscribe to Nixle, we had Mosside Boulevard, a slide which occurred just south of Compunetics, and that was the hill that slid. The trees were on the power lines, and PennDOT could not do anything until later that night because Duquesne Light was called out, and also Verizon. Now, whose telephone poles they were, I don't know, but I called Duquesne Light and Verizon. So that's just to give council and the public of what has occurred all day yesterday in the community. Joe, you have any more pictures there? Okay, good. Good job, Joe. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, on the agenda is Celebrate Healthy Monroeville Wellness Expo. Will be Saturday, September 29th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And at the next council meeting, the 2019 budget will be presented to council and the public, and subsequent public hearings will be scheduled. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Little. And just to clarify, actually, Abers Creek Road is currently open. It was reopened as of this afternoon. The bridge is completed. Unfortunately, yes, that landslide is there. It's coned off now. It's actually, the term was, there's a bear cage around it, which, Mr. Duncan, that's a public works term that I really didn't know.
It's a new one to me, but yeah.
Bear
Well,
cage? Did he say that?
Play along with
Bear
us.
cage?
It came from our public works superintendent. He called it a bear cage. I never heard of that, but at any
He
rate,
made that up.
just travel carefully, but it is open, and as we can see with what has happened to not only our area, but the whole region with this weather. So moving over to our reports, Mr. Hugus, do you have anything this evening?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to open the floor up for public comment on any municipal item. And we're still going to maintain a 5-minute comment period during this portion of the meeting. If you could please sign in and then state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tom Henningsen, resident Monroeville. I would like to talk to you tonight about Maple Crest Lane. I've been before you a couple of times talking about the address problems there. I have been in contact with the county, and I would like to enter the discussion I had with them in the form of emails into the public record. The county 5 years ago in an email told Monroeville that they need to update the address system on Maple Crest Lane. And they, within the past week, sent an email to Mr. Storick asking him the same question again. One of the acute issues we have on that road is that we have, well, let me put it this way. About 6 years ago, Monroeville changed some of the addresses on Logan's Ferry Road. The problem is they didn't tell the residents whose addresses were changed that that was happening. So we have this situation today where we have a neighbor who is using the address that was assigned to us, to my family. I know that that neighbor has 2 utility accounts and 1 bank account listed to our address. I have talked to the neighbor, and he insists that it is his address. So it's a problem that really comes back to the municipality. I'm not blaming the neighbor for this because, as I say, I don't think he has ever been informed of this. But we need to do something about it.
Refresh my memory. When did this start? When did the address problem start?
6 years ago, well, a little longer ago, the county contacted the municipality and told them they had to put addresses on all roads that had more than 1 residence on it. 6 years ago, Monroeville passed a resolution 1236, which named the road Maple Crest Lane. But
You're talking about, I believe, because of the 911 system,
yes.
they had to be able to differentiate your house from somebody that was right out on Locust Ferry
Yeah.
Road.
What happened in that connection, it was discovered that we have a building that did not have an address. It's a full residence. It has all the building permits and the occupancy permit, but it has been used as a garage, so we never worried about it having an address. But the houses along Maple Crest Lane, kind of in an informal way, was named ABC. The house that is located right on Logan's Ferry Road has the address 3890 Logan's Ferry Road, but the ones behind it are named 3890 ABCDE. That worked as long as the houses were being built in that order. But now we put a building right in the middle between B and C, and what now do you do?
Tom, is that building on a separate parcel?
Yes.
Okay.
Who's responsible for assigning addresses, us or the post office?
The municipality. We are the ultimate decisions of addresses.
There's
How
another.
many homes are involved?
There are 8, depending on.
That doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. Can't
It's
we,
A
can't
through
we,
G is, I believe it's A through G.
can't we assign addresses?
Well, the issue is that, and I
Vacant
agree with-
lots, and I
agree with Mr.
understand that.
Henderson on this one here, because they're addressed to Locust Ferry Road, but they actually live on Maple Crest Lane.
So we can't change that to Maple Crest Lane?
It's a councilmatic decision.
And 2 months ago, council instructed me to send a letter to all the residents, which I did. And council can assign addresses irrespective of the wishes of anybody on a road. And council asked me to send a letter and set up a meeting. Well, I've had responses that, I got responses from 2 of the people that live on the Maple Crest Lane, and they do not want to have a meeting. They do not want their address changed. I got a call from Eric.
What are theirs currently? Maple Crest?
Well, no, it's actually Logan's Ferry.
They're all Logan's
So they want to
Ferry.
stay
They're all-
Logan's Ferry.
They want to stay Logan's Ferry. Now,
What's
you
the
do
big-
have the legal right to change it, like I said, irrespective of what the feelings are of anybody in the community. But, you know, that's your call, like Paul
If the
said.
majority want it to be left at Logan's Ferry, why not leave it at Logan's Ferry?
What is the majority, Tim, of the 8? How many, you own?
Well,
two?
I wouldn't say there's 6 people that live there. I had 2, one emailed, 2 emailed, and 2 called. And the one said he doesn't care one way or the other. The 2 were opposed, and that's
I
what
think
I
Mr.
had.
Hugus also explained that if you change something like that, then they have to change their driver's license, the post office.
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, they have to change, all their legal documents
Change
have to be
everything.
changed.
Did we get an answer from the county 911 in the addressing side of it, which each and every one of those parcels comes up as? Are they still 39, I'm sorry, add it again, sir, 390?
That's what
3980.
Mr. was talking
Okay.
about.
Each one comes back up as that. Thank you.
There is another factor to this, and that is if you take an address like 3890C, that does not enter into a modern computer.
It's in the 911 system, it's an issue that they don't have.
Well,
that.
no, this is a post office problem, that you need what's called a directive in front of it. In other words, it cannot be 3890C. PNC Bank could not enter that address into their computer. There's a number of directives. It's apartment, suite, unit.
Yeah, there has to be
At
another.
the
there
end,
has
at
to
the
be
end of the
another
day, what do
qualifier.
you want to happen?
I really don't care. I just want an address.
Other people laugh.
You can stay with Logan's
So-
Ferry, but
But
it
you have
has
an
to be a
address.
legal.
So why can't we 39. assign Tom
C and D.
an address number and let the other ones that want to stay as they are today stay at that address, and Tom should get a new address
That's,
number?
no, I'm a little
That-
confused here, Tom. You don't have an address? I thought you were C.
He's B and C.
You're B and C.
C and D.
Well, you have a third property, or a third structure.
C and D.
Building in between them, he said,
second.
it doesn't have
A
an
second.
address.
See, here's what happened. We went A, B, C, D.
Right.
Yeah, you've explained
The
that.
one address we were using was C. Next to us, we have a farmhouse that has been using the address D and E. That's your member, the fellow that
Right.
called you. He's the one that insists he's going to be using D. But if you look at the documentation here, D has been assigned to the one that was C in order for our C to be moved to the
Well,
building.
okay, so I understand, is you're just talking about the alphabet right now, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're not talking about changing to Maple Crest, you're just, we'll leave it Logan's Ferry Extension. I mean, that's council's decision, but you're just talking about getting in sequential order, the A, B, C,
Right.
D, and E.
So you want it like 90, 91, 92, 93, 94,
See, that
95,
makes it-
something like that, and get rid of the A, B, C, D, E altogether?
Most people would tell you that the ABC is an outdated
Yeah,
system.
get rid of
But I'm
it.
saying,
All
could you
1,
make
2,
it
3, 4.
90, 91, 92,
Hey, there we
93,
go.
94?
Let me
Okay,
How
so
about
hold
that?
on, everyone, if
How about that?
Yeah,
Let
sure.
Paul
one moment.
But-
Mr.
I mean, I don't
Hugus,
understand it.
right, Mr. Hugus, if you could add some clarity to it, please.
Well,
When
can
you
I,
ch-
can I,
When you change addresses, they have to be very unique, different addresses. So in other words, they want you to change them, like, they're a 4-digit now.
Yeah.
They need to be at least a 3-digit, if not a 2-digit, so they're completely different from what they were. So there is no confusion.
10, 11, 12,
So
13.
they can't be 39, 80, whatever. They got to be a totally different numbering.
So they could be 38, 39, 40, 41?
They
Something
they
like
have
that?
to be a unique number,
Has to be a what?
a unique number.
they would have to
1,
be
2, 3,
even
4 is not
numbers
unique.
because of the
Yeah,
side
it
of
could
the-
be, but it can't be the 4-digit. It can't be in a 4-digit
It can't be the
series.
4 that it is now.
Right.
So outside of these 8 homes, are there other homes beyond that or before that that are less than 3890 or more than 3890?
No, the confusion is on Maple Crest Lane.
Because it is Maple Crest Lane,
It is.
Oh, you're
But-
talking about
By resolution, it is Maple Crest Lane.
but there's a Logan's Ferry.
Right.
So they would all stay, what if you did like 389, 390,
I mean, there is some
391,
confusion, because if you
92?
tell somebody, I live at so-and-so C, Logan's Ferry Road.
would I be fair
But
to-
you gotta turn on the Maple Crest Lane to get there.
Paul, would
Should
I
we
be fair
all
to say
change
that
to
Maple
Maple
Crest
Crest
Lane is a paper street?
No, it's a private road. And don't go there, we'll be
Yeah,
there
yeah,
the next
okay.
2 hours.
Yeah, don't,
Please.
no.
But
Well,
for the
part of it-
purpose of location, they call it Maple Crest Lane so we can,
Yes, it is Maple Crest
think
Lane
it should
is the
be
name of the
Maple
road.
Crest
that
Lane.
the structure resides on Maple Crest Lane.
right.
But also, the other piece of this, and it's not really as clear from the email and the question that I'm asking, so help me, be patient with me for a second as I form it. The challenge is with the 911 system, each and every land parcel has to have the unique address assigned to it. That's the piece that's been
Right.
since the late 1980s, and that legislation went in place. However, it's not officially Alpha Bravo Charlie, it doesn't have that add to it. So as such, as it stands today, then each of the parcels are not unique right now.
The first 4 digits are the same. The A through G is what makes them unique.
Understand that we have made, but that's not clear from the document I have, this email, that it's clear in the 911 system.
And
It was
Mr.
just something got assigned as the folks lived there.
And Mr. Henningsen's right. We did get an email today from Allegheny County expressing their displeasure with this, and they want clarity.
May I-
Because it's not A, B, or C in the 911 system, when the enhanced 911 system comes up. Is that correct?
I can't answer that.
All right, that's the
Yes,
piece that would
I can
have.
tell you that. It is the ABC in the county system. But the problem with,
And who was it that assigned that A, B, or C? It just came, it's just
No,
evolved?
no, the municipality issued those addresses.
I think actually,
Okay.
I think most of them were actually assigned by the people. We are going back into the
Long time ago.
1930s
Yeah,
here.
right.
May I suggest that we give them addresses and send letters to the 8 residents and tell them that we're going to change?
This is your address?
It's going to be Maple Crest, or
It'll be,
It's gonna have to be
Maple Crest Lane.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
and
the
you're going to
appropriate-
be,
Has to be.
you're going to be giving addresses.
Right. But can I add in one more factor? I think part of the reluctance of the municipality to assign different addresses has to do with the development of the Maple Crest Golf Course.
I don't think it has any.
No,
That's
but
listed as a
it has
separate
been.
parcel.
And what I just wanted to say here is, I think the concern is that under proposed development, Maple Crest Lane would be cut in half and a section eliminated. So it would make sense to wait to put the address on until you know what you need. But
You
I'm
don't want us to do
suggesting,
anything now, then?
no, I need to do something. I need to get my neighbor off. What's that?
That wasn't me.
No, it's not, I mean,
So may I suggest that we award an address to each of these individual properties?
But it will be Maple Crest Lane.
Yes, and if they need changed in the future because of
Visit it,
development.
visit it again.
Yeah,
We don't wanna
that's
do that.
basically,
You want to do it one time because everything.
well, naturally you do.
Yeah.
But how do
Why
you,
would
how
the
do
golf
you,
course have anything to do
how
with
do you
changing?
think into the future?
That would just
Well,
add more
because
benefit.
it's going to be developed, I think, is the issue.
Common sense should prevail here.
Okay, Mr. Yugas, can you answer me the question, will the sale of the golf course, whatever they do over there, would have any effect on if we change these addresses to Maple Crest Lane?
And somewhat, yes.
Okay, so should we not wait then?
I think that you would be able to address it, Maple Crest, where Mr. Henningsen lives. You would be able to address that now before that development occurs, if it does occur.
Okay, so then we should go ahead and move forward then, as Mr. Duncan has stated, and let's give them all a Maple Crest address.
Can I ask that Mr. Henningsen and Tim Little and Paul Yugas sit down, get this in a presentable order and bring it back to council for
Ron,
approval?
we've been asking, Tom and I have been asking for this for over 5 years. 5 years. Tom's been asking for it for longer than that.
I mean, it's 8 parcels. I don't,
Yeah, folks, so Mr. Little brought up a point. This would probably be done by resolution. And Mr. Ratcher, would you agree?
Agree.
So we do have time on this, but what we could say is perhaps if there is take a motion in a second to get this rolling here.
Motion.
Well, we
Second.
That's the legal way of putting it, I guess.
To to get the
In the
resolution.
process
To get the process.
Correct, to
create a
start the
resolution.
process,
Create a
create the
resolution.
resolution, to get some addresses
Address
put
of
together.
Okay.
Maple Crest Lane.
Get all your
do it.
documents updated.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
There we
Opposed?
go, we're gonna do it.
Do you want to hand that to, do you want to give that to Mr. Ratcher?
Yes.
Or do you need to have, keep that? I just
Thank you, sir.
thought maybe it might be something.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Let me just.
Fellow council people, you've done a good thing.
I don't think this has to really interrupt. It is a one-time step you have to make, but everybody who lives on Maple Crest Lane today, because they don't have the directive on the address, still has to have the address changed. I cannot put unit on my address. It has to come from here, go to the
I
county.
think we understand that.
We know
And
that.
we appreciate your
We got it.
frustration.
I just don't
We
want
are-
to do
got
it
it.
more than once.
Agreed.
Right.
We will,
Yeah.
And the way you avoid that is by making the system flexible. See, there's a lot of land along Maple Crest Lane that could be future lots.
Sure, we'll make sure
We
it's done.
understand.
We'll make
Mr.
sure it's done
Henningsen,
the
we-
proper.
we've
Take
done
care.
this before.
We've done it, we got
yeah.
it.
Thank
So
you,
we'll
Mr.
get that
Hanks.
part.
Thank
Going in the right
Hey,
direction.
Tom, the squeaking wheel gets the oil.
It needs a lot
Took a
of-
while,
I'll
but
leave
you're
the,
getting it.
good luck, and we'll be talking about this more. I'm going to
Good
leave the
job.
floor open for public comment on any municipal item.
Oh, come on.
No.
The floor is yours.
Okay,
Ms.
Georgiana Woodhull. I took the advice of what I've heard several councilmen make a comment, if you see something, say something. So last Thursday, I came to the council meeting when I saw activity at the landfill at 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning, and I asked Mr. Little if he could find out, what was going on. I thought it was a bit odd to see that at different days, and I asked him to find out what activity was going on there. So I'm just here to see if you got that information.
Well, apparently you did not receive a call from Waste Management today.
Why would I be getting a call from
Well, I
Waste
talked to
Management?
Rich Simonetti,
Because he told him
the
to.
director up there, and he said, no, Tim, he says, we're not doing anything. We're permitted under the permit to begin at 4:30, but we don't start until 5. He said, what I will do is I will have Ms. Woodhull called by, there's a lady that talks about these things that knows more about it than Rich, and she said she'd give you
Okay,
a
well, this
call.
was earlier than 4 in the morning. And
Well-
as I said, it caught my eye because I had never seen it before. So, and as far as, you having people call me, I brought this up at a public meeting, and I wanted to have it answered at a public meeting.
Well, the answer
So-
is that they have not been doing any work before 5 o'clock.
Okay, so they just have bright lights up there and trucks?
That's
Okay.
what Mr. Simonetti informed me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
I will leave the floor open for public comment on any municipal item. Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting, and we will move over to our reports of council members. Mrs. Gatos, I'll start with you.
Okay. Joe, do you by any chance have that picture of the meetup spot sign?
Yes.
Can you please put that up for me?
What?
Yep, sign.
Okay, this is a project, it's called Meetup Spot. It's a internet purchase exchange location. The signs would be put up in places where they are cameraed so that people can feel safe when they go on the flea markets on the internets and they meet up with the other person to do the exchange of the product and the money. I think it also could be used in like custody cases where you're maybe exchanging your children with the spouses if there's any issues. One of the places I would like to have it put would be right here behind the municipal building by the police entrance. And I think maybe another possible good location may be the convention center. It would be easy access for our police department if someone would have to go there very quickly. So this is run by a company called Offer Up, and we have to buy the signs from them. And I think they're only like $30. So I just really would like an okay from the rest of the council to move forward with getting this project set up and off the ground. I think it'd be great for our residents.
Second to approve.
Is this for an emergency type issue?
No, this is if you go on, like I belong to the Monroeville Flea Market, and I've gone and bought children's toys. And then this is a safe spot to meet up with some, if you don't want to go to their home or you don't want to meet them.
Oh, okay.
Like
okay.
Craigslist,
Right.
It's a
Craigslist.
Let
Craigslist
go.
Yeah,
kind
very
of
good,
thing.
yeah. Good
It's
idea.
a safety thing for our people, and our 911 dispatch center here will see, it would be cameraed if something would happen. And that's why I say the exchanging of children,
Makes
they could
sense.
use it for
Great
that.
idea.
Is that
So-
something, that's a great idea. Is that something that we could do in our sign department?
I don't think so. I think you have to
Why
do
can't
it
we-
like this, you have to get the signs through them, which is what I found out. And
But I
it's
wonder if
only
we could
like
just make our-
$30.
If we could make our own signs, though.
So,
It's
I
a
can
meetup
check
part
into-
is a service, though, you're saying, that
Probably
it's
copyrighted
advertised
or
as part of it.
Yes.
Your Honor, I think the part of that is that those folks advertise that as a service.
yes.
Probably how they support the program,
yes.
too.
And-
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
that big
so,
a
but
deal.
it's called Meetup Spot. So I was just looking for, to be able to move forward with
Yes.
finding out about the signs and all
Go
of
for
that
it.
and locations.
Go for it.
If everyone's okay with that?
Council's good with it.
Okay,
Mr. Little,
great.
if you could work with Mrs. Gatos on that.
Sure will.
Okay. And of course, let's all remember the brave men and women who lost their lives on the state. 9/11, never forget. That still, of course, chokes you up. On to the senior center. Open house this Saturday, 10 to 12. Please, again, if you've never been there, perfect time to go. Find out what it's about. You will find something that will fit your needs. That I can pretty much guarantee you. And the senior center is going to be offering evening classes that are coming up this fall. Yoga, crafting classes, knitting, making ornaments, and a whole bunch more. So you can find out all about that at the open house. And with that, that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Poach.
So, excuse me, my notes are on my phone. A couple things to catch up with regarding some report on the library.
Thank you, Joe.
September's, it's Love Your Library Month, which I do, in Allegheny County, because any donation to the public library fund will be matched from Bucher and Foundation, the foundation that's in place. And we can support the library with it, making your donations counts for even more. It's in place and online and can be done by the mail. This Saturday is also something I need to remember to sign up for myself, and it's starting at 7 o'clock, Friends of the Library Trivia Night fundraiser.
Oh, you could point that.
Yeah, we're going to do our best to do that. And the proceeds also benefit the library, and it's also a matching fund for those folks. I believe that is $20 a person in place, too. So we'll be working to get together the Municipal Maniacs team to come in and participate, do the best that we can. And also in October, there's the library's second annual Fun Fest. It's by the library and the chamber are working together. It's a community-wide event for everyone else. There's food, trucks, games, funds, community activities as well. The cupcake eating contest. I didn't know that part. And that'll be on Sunday, October the 13th as well. And then in context of Mrs. Gatos, mentioned 9/11, I too remember that, and I was sitting here going through my phone and looked at the photograph of somebody that I knew from the fire department, guy trained me a number of years ago, that was about to retire 2 weeks after 9/11. He was scheduled to retire, and didn't quite make it as well. So a lot of folks need to continue to remember that every day that we have that opportunity to do that. I think that's enough for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Poach. Mr. Harvey.
I just want to reiterate that. I'll cut it short by saying, remember all the victims of 9/11 today. Please don't ever forget them, and especially the public service workers. Don't be afraid to thank them for their work. I encourage everybody, as Mr. Little said, the budget meetings are coming up, and I would encourage all the residents or any resident to attend and get a copy and look it over and give us your opinion. As far as last month goes, I did talk to Mr. Arasenko before I did this, so he was working and I was not, so I went down to see the gentleman from Kenmore Drive who was here last week, to complain about the garbage coming over the hillside from the area of Chipotle. And I went and parked there, and right in the middle of the grass was all this vitamin garbage from the vitamin store. And as I walked back towards the hillside that looked over this gentleman's property, Chipotle's fence ends. There's about a 5-foot gap, and then William Penn Place's fence starts. And if they just filled that in, and it's quite frankly the same type of fencing, And if they would just fill that gap in, I think 75% of his problem would go away. Because I am told after talking around there that there are some homeless people that root through the dumpster and zing it all over the place, and because of that gap, it blows through the opening in the fence. I went down and saw him, he walked me up to the hillside, and I come up with the same conclusion. So if we could get those two businesses to close that gap in the fence, I think you'd have at least probably most of it solved.
That's a good solution. If we could maybe talk to the management at both of those buildings.
We'll have to look at their site plan to make sure that they extended the fences to the property lines.
Very good.
Thank you, Ron, for bringing that up.
Yes, thanks, Ron.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Johns?
Yes, sir. Just quickly, I'd just like to once again remind the residents that the municipality does have an ordinance for no on-street parking.
William Penn Place.
And if you roam around as much as I do, the school buses are struggling getting around cars, especially when they're parked across the street from each other. You can't get between them, and even though I don't like to say it, it won't be long, that white stuff will be falling on the ground. And for a fellow that plows a lot of snow, there's nothing worse than going down the road and having to dodge vehicles when they're parked where they don't belong. So if you can, you got driveway, try to put them in there. Other than that, I'm done, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Arasinko?
Same as everybody else, please remember all the victims of 9/11. And here on Ron, I'm trying to get everybody to come out on the October 9th council meeting with the budget presentation. Please do, this is your money, you have to hold our feet to the fire. And once again, Ron, thank you for helping me on that Kenmore Drive. As you stated, I was working and have been, so hopefully we can get that resolved, Paul. Lastly, I want to just remind everybody why, again, once every few months, I think it's every 3 months, I miss the work session. I am a member of the Allegheny County Boroughs Association, as well as the Allegheny League of Municipalities, and so I am still representing us, but I also have to represent several of the communities. And with that, and I'll have a report for you next month. There's some items coming up at the county level that I think will be some good news for us. So I'll definitely keep everybody informed on that, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Duncan?
Yeah, and also my prayers to the 9/11 victims and their families. And also, I hope all will be safe with the incoming hurricane to our East Coast.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
We all
You're
need
right.
to hope and pray for these people also. And that's all I have.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor. A friend of mine sent me this today about remembering 9/11, and I'd like to read it. It's very brief. It says, hard to believe, but many Americans were too young to remember 9/11. And for some, just becoming adults, it was before they were born. For them, it may be a history lesson in a class. For me, it was yesterday. I'll never forget. Now I have a couple other items that I'd like to bring up for council. I would like to recommend that we present the old mayor.
M-A-R-E.
Wait a while. You have to
Tom.
put old with it, Tom.
And Paul Caleri a plaque
Did we
for
spell
their
that
service.
M-A-R-E?
For their service to the municipality. I received one from the school board, and it's always nice to have it hidden somewhere in the house, but it's always nice to have that. And the mayor, how many years did you serve?
10 years, sir.
10 years.
Couple months shy, yes.
Okay.
Stop it,
And we
Paul.
paid for every year of it.
Good years.
Okay, now, my other recommendation would be to have all of our employees who park out front, park in the back, and leave room for the residents that need to come in back and forth out of the building. And I noticed there are some employees that they park so close up front that they could probably just get out of their car and roll into the building. But we need to respect our residents, and I would like to have council have a vote or an opinion on this so we can direct Tim to move forward and send out the memo going forward.
I think that's a managerial thing. Tim,
Well, I have a
Tim
comment
could
on
easily
that.
do that.
Mr. Wilson has brought this up to me about a month or so ago, and I went out. Now, this is not a scientific counting.
Obviously.
And I counted the cars, though I don't know who's employees and who's not employees.
Well, then therefore
I counted
it's
the
not
cars
even
out
accurate.
there and in the spaces back here, and I don't think they're all going to be able to fit. Now, with that being said, I do think the front row here, or I should say the front two rows,
Yeah,
I
from
agree.
the handicaps over, the front row should be wide open.
And I agree.
And the second row.
Code enforcement.
So let
vehicles that
me
are out there.
Pardon me?
make a suggestion, and since you're discussing this, is that the side, I park over there, the
Right.
side, they should be filled up, and also the back row.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
along
exactly.
And I
back.
think the
Because don't
COG
think
has,
everything's
I
gonna
think
be
the
able to
COG
fit
has
back.
some vehicles back there too.
Okay.
Maybe they could be relocated for some of the employees so that we could
Yeah.
do it properly, but
think
I'd
it'll
like
work
to know
that
what
way.
council thinks.
Well, the old mayor agrees with you, Mr.
Well, thank you.
I agree with you also, Tom, too. In
Yeah.
particular, the folks that need to come into the tax office, they need to come
I'm
in.
sorry?
out. The folks, the residents that need to come into the tax office, that space needs to be open for them in the front.
Absolutely.
Not any, the.
Absolutely.
They're in and out, and they need some help from that, too. So
Yeah.
certainly, we can assure.
So
that
shall
that
we
space
direct
opens.
Mr. Little to go ahead and
I think
send
it's
out that
encouraged
memo?
From that, yeah, absolutely.
Linda?
By all means.
Oh, I'm
By all
100%
means.
on board.
Absolutely.
Sounds like,
Okay.
Mr. Little, you
Okay,
have,
done.
you're
Ron?
at direction.
Good.
All done.
Okay. JJ?
All done. Good.
Stevie?
Better believe it.
Everyone's good. So, Mr. Little, if you could work on that, and just to clarify, whenever you say front and back, so
I
even
expect that to start Monday,
the row
From March.
adjacent to Monroeville Boulevard.
tonight.
And on the side.
Okay, can we move on?
All right, I'm not done yet.
Mr. Wilson, the floor is still yours.
Okay. And for people that are using Evergreen Drive going toward Center Road from the school, please stop. The sign doesn't say slow, it says stop. We just had some new families move into the neighborhood. They have little kids. These kids don't know that you're not going to stop. Some of these people, they fly through those signs. And God forbid one of these little kids should get hit.
Right.
It would be terrible. And, you know, there's only so much that I can do. I can't throw any more bricks at him or anything like that. So at some point, you have to respect the sign that says stop. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And I'll echo my colleagues here, and we had our moment of silence earlier for the victims of and families that were impacted by September 11th, the attacks of September 11th. We have our active transportation committee. We're going to be having a public active transportation committee meeting on October 18th of next month at 7 p.m. right here in council chambers. We'll be reminding you of that at our October work session and our regular council meeting as well, but that is for October 18th. It'll also be on our municipal website. And I want to thank the Dr. Levine from Cleveland Stewart Elementary today. I was honored as a very special guest. I got to read to our students over there. She's doing a program about citizenship, and they were kind enough to ask me to come out and hang out with them for this morning, and I had a lot of fun and a lot of interesting questions from the grade schoolers, and really was very happy to do so. And I think it's a perfect time we talk about citizenship to mention a resident that we lost this past week. Mrs. Barbara Mohan passed away at the age of 87 on September 9th. Barbara was quite a woman. She worked as a draftswoman at Westinghouse for many years after being the only female engineer student in her class. She was a longtime volunteer for the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust. And when we talk about citizenship for Monroeville, she was a longtime volunteer at the Monroeville Senior Citizen Center. She was on senior council. She was a senior council member for about 20 years, from 1995 to 2015. And she also had the role as the senior center administrator when they had things structured a little bit differently, from 1997 to 2015 as well, for 18 years. She did the bulk of the programming from 1997 to 2006 for 10 years. This was all volunteer work. She was pretty much doing a full-time job. Barbara also served on the Recreation Advisory Board as the senior liaison to that committee, and she was a heck of a woman. She was loved by many, and will be missed by many. And also, she designed the Senior Center, the Monroeville Senior Center logo that they still use today. So she was very active in the Monroeville Senior Center and in our community. And when we talk about citizenship, she's definitely one to think about. So she will be missed, and our prayers and thoughts are with her family. And with that, I would like to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and good night.